Hello, this is Movie Monster, and here's some stuff I watched. Till is a film that, in the wrong hands, could have been a difficult watch at best and a distasteful disaster at worst. The story of the 1955 lynching of 14-year-old Emmett Till has already been recounted in other films. Not just documentaries, but also a short drama nominated for an Oscar a few years back, and given the brutality of the subject matter, it may beg the question of whether or not a dramatization should be made at all. Thankfully, the film was given the care it deserved. There's more to this film than its subject matter, framing the historical events through Till's mother Mamie. What could have been another award season historical drama becomes a powerful message about speaking out against prejudice in the face of extreme hatred and in the wake of the absolute unthinkable, and we definitely need more of those. The film is led by an incredible performance by Danielle Deadwyler as Mamie, who perfectly pulls off such a weighted role. She captures the real-life pain, but also the strength of the part. It also delves in how African Americans carved out their own path during the period, and how the institution of white supremacy was sadly upheld by them for the sake of their survival. Of course, this film was never going to be an easy watch, and it's not, nor should it be. I was seething with anger throughout the whole runtime, and the fact that the events actually happened regardless of their dramatization added to the emotional impact. However, I do highly recommend this film. It more than exceeded my expectations. The DCEU gets bigger, badder, and certainly more brutal with the release of Black Adam. I've had this one on my radar, and boy did I want to enjoy this one more, but alas, it was not to be. Dwayne Johnson is Black Adam, the reawakened slave-turned-god who goes places other superheroes won't. His introduction is one of the more entertaining scenes in the film as he quickly, and brutally, makes the depth and deadliness of his abilities known. Yes, make no mistake, he can and will kill the bad guys in an instant, and has more than enough power to do so. The film also marks the cinematic debut of the Justice Society, Hawkman, Atom Smasher, Dr. Fate, and Cyclone. First, let's look at the positives. The film has a dark sense of humor, and a lot of it, while sometimes oddly placed, worked for me. The Justice Society are a lot of fun, and their action sequences are enjoyable. And of course, Dwayne Johnson does a great job as Black Adam, nailing the anti-hero persona. One of my main problems with the movie was the story. It just wasn't compelling and pretty slim. Of course, this is a superhero action movie, and story isn't really the selling point. But the action gets repetitive, and without a good enough story to back it up, the show of superpowers gets old fast. Speaking of superpowers, one of the major problems with the film is that Black Adam is simply too powerful to carry the story. For much of the first half, his arrival is met with a show of extreme force that solves the problem in due time, to the point where the threat really isn't there, and the repetitiveness of the action becomes that much more obvious. One other thing I noticed is that once the threat actually appears, and I won't spoil how, the film suddenly seems rushed, getting through the plot at a breakneck speed and with abrasively fast editing. It's almost as if they wanted an additional 15 minutes, but had to turn in a 2-hour movie, and it's made all the more noticeable given the pacing of the first half. Now, the film's casual attitude towards deadly violence, combined with its black comedy, will likely find it an audience. And it should satisfy fans. For audiences not interested in superhero movies, however, it's simply too mediocre to recommend, and while I didn't hate it, I couldn't like it as much as I wanted to. Finally, a Korean detective finds himself in a twisted web of love in Park Chan-wook's extremely compelling Decision to Leave. An inspector in Busan is on a murder case when he's asked to investigate the death of a businessman who fell from a mountain. The man's wife is a suspect, but despite the investigator being married, he quickly finds himself falling for her. At this point, it'd be cliché to say that nothing is as it seems, but for the film's entire runtime, nothing is repeatedly as it seems, and to delve too far into plot details would be, no pun intended, criminal. What I will say is that the two leads do an incredibly good job with their performances, making an already questionable romance feel real and heartwarming. However, my favorite thing about the movie was the editing and cinematography. The film is incredibly playful with the way it appears, from unusual POVs, jarring cross-cutting, and many moments that play with space and time in a cool way. It can be rather abrasively fast with some of its pacing, but I felt it worked. It's also a rare film that more than earns its long runtime. There's a hefty amount of story here, and all of it feels necessary. It rewards the viewer for paying attention, as many details don't just stay in their respective scenes. I was wondering throughout what would happen next, and I absolutely loved the film's ending, which isn't an easy one, but it is deeply satisfying and will stay in your mind long after the credits roll. The film is South Korea's official submission for the Academy Awards this year, and I definitely think it's a strong contender. See it if you have the chance. That's all for now, and I hope to have more reviews for you soon.